Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited for this conversation. For those who have been following me on social media or on YouTube, I put a video up of eating a 4-pound burrito with, unfortunately, I had to also eat a quesadilla taco afterwards, which was a little tough at the time. But the gentleman who invited me out, his name is Hendrickson. He also goes by the Adventures of Heavy D. This man's ranked 23rd worldwide competitive eater. He has also lost over 100 pounds on his journey. That's why it comes into the Adventures of Heavy D. He's also sponsored by Michelob Ultra and Carnison. We're going to get into everything. And if you guys haven't watched me eat this 4-pound burrito, you need to pause it, go onto the YouTube page, watch it, and then go over to Derek's page and watch him just divulge every single thing. It's like a carnivore. So, Derek, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Like I said, also right when we're walking in, repping Denver Nuggets.
That's right, the 303.
Let's go, man. Yeah, last time I saw you, took down this 4-pound burrito at El Zarape. Just want to say thank you to them. Shout out to them. It was a great experience. Sleeping afterwards was a little tough. I woke up probably 3 times throughout the night and ultimately only ended up sleeping like 5.5 hours. But you were right where you said you're going to have a lot of energy at the gym. I literally did the Stairmaster for like an hour. I felt like I had superpowers.
Right? you get that carb bump, all those calories, and it's like super energy, but the sleep is the worst part.
It's insane. Is it normally like that for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I can tell how hard I've pushed myself based on like how interrupted my sleep is. Because like I don't know the science behind it medically, but it's like my stomach gets hot, and I've been told it's because the blood's rushing into your stomach to like go get rid of all of this food, digest it, and do whatnot. But yeah, I'll wake up 3-4 times in the night, just rolling over constantly. Like, I don't know, like when you went to the bathroom, if you were dehydrated, but normally dehydration's a big thing. So you got to keep slugging water to like help it get through. It's quite an entertaining experience.
There was a quote that I don't know if it was you or Raina said, but you guys compared it to drinking alcohol, where it was like, it's just like drinking where you have a hangover where the next day you hate yourself, but then after about 24 hours, you're like, okay, let's do round 2. I'm ready for it again.
Yep, that's me. So I'm getting ready to go on tour in a couple weeks. And you'll do like, when you go on tour, like you're just filming content, which for us is just eating, and then you wait a little bit and then go eat. And like afterwards, you're like, oh God, I don't want to touch food. Like I did a 100-hour fast after like one of these just to be like, okay, let's see if I can do a 100-hour fast, not eat. And it's like, wow, okay, like this is great. But like after 2 days, you're just like, all right, I could go for burgers again. Like I'm ready to train again. I'm ready to eat, because it's kind of like an addiction to less of a thing. Like I just love food. But yeah, it's like, you'll be like, oh God, I don't want to look at this anymore. And then the next day you're like, all right, let's see what we're getting into.
And I guess that's kind of the debate of the savory of sweets versus the salty nature, because salt can be addicting, just as addicting as sugar is. And sometimes I eat much more salty food, and sometimes it's hard for me to stop. And when I was eating that burrito, I'd say the first 3/4 of the burrito was easy, but those last few bites, oh man, it was a struggle. But I was like, I can't not finish this around these guys.
I'm just more proud you did it, because so many people like will like create a food challenge, right? Like we have a few of them here in Vegas, and some of the owners will never touch them. It's like almost like this sick thing. Like we want to have a food challenge, but they won't even do it. But it's like you did it. We're all super proud of it. You crushed it. Like now you see, because like, picture us going to like 8 and 9 pounds. So you have even bigger stomach. You're like just totally full, and you're like, oh God, like this is going to be $80 if I don't finish it. Cause normally they come with like these huge, insane price tags. And it's like, I got to get it in. And so, yeah, that's when it like becomes work. Like that's always my saying is like, everyone likes to eat, but it's like when you get full, that's when like my work starts to go. Like we made, do you know Barcode Burgers at all on Flamingo?
Yes.
So Cody Tomboli out there has a challenge. And I'm like, Cody, let's take it on together. Like you guys see what this is like. I finished it in like 4 minutes, and he's still got like 3/4 of it, and he's just staring at me like, WTF, dude? And I'm like, I'll eat whatever you don't finish. He's like, I don't think you could finish mine. I'm like, go to 10 minutes, see what it's like. He's like, this is miserable. Like, you know, he's like sweating. He's like, oh my, regretting every life decision that got him to this point. And then like I finish his burger for him. I'm like, oh, you should have like pulled the bun off and eaten the burger first and then save the fries for last. Because normally it's like, we have like a strategy. It's like golf, you know, they want to come in at this angle. They want to hit these shots. It's like, I want to eat all the protein first and then kind of work my way between the fries and the buns of what's going to be easier. And then it's like, normally it's like everyone's just all for it. They're all over the place. They have no idea where they're going. And it's like, So it was a fun experience for him. I think he felt similar to how you did.
Yeah, right. It was glorifying at first. The next few days kind of sucked, but now it's like I'm ready to do it again. I kind of want to do a sugar one. I know you guys had mentioned that sugar is actually tougher because there's limitations to how your body could process sugar, right?
I think so. Like, again, I don't know the scientific. It's like you have the gym. Like, we're both into fitness, and you have bro science of like, oh, if you do this and that. It's like the same, only magnified in competitive eating. Like, it's crazy, the bro science. Because, like, I'm sure on some level when you eat sugar, it affects your blood more because you're starting to deal with like glucose and, you know, all that kind of stuff and insulin. But it's like the world record for glazed donuts in the same amount of time is like 6-7 pounds. Where other challenges like hot dogs, people are eating 10, 15, 20 pounds. Watermelons like 19 pounds. Ribs is like 14. And then all the sugar ones are like way, way down in terms of like what people have been able to put up.
Could be the dough. I know there's limitations on dough.
Well, you know, you forget we eat so dirty. Like when we're out with you and doing kind of that stuff, it's like when you're at a restaurant, no one wants to see us with like the water flying and stuff like that. When we go on competition stages, it's like you're dunking the donut in the water. So the time it's in there, it's pretty much like already like down, and it's more becoming like who can swallow the most. It sounds weird, but that's really what it's coming down to. You don't chew very much. Small bites and swallow. That's always the thing.
I was like, what the heck was that? Sorry, you're all good. When it comes to content creation, I know some of these challenges can be very daunting, right? There's some that are 15, 16 pounds. Do you post those videos that you don't complete? And if you don't complete them and post them, does it hinder your brand at all?
I mean, that's a big controversial topic in competitive eating because some people say they don't want to see us lose. And then other people are rooting for us to lose. So I'll post my losses. I'll talk about it because there's, you know, a lot of people will stay in their comfortability range where it's like, I know I can hit 7 all day, so I'm going to do 7 all day, and I'm not going to ever go for 8. Others of us are doing stuff like that. For me, it's like when it comes down to content creation, I'll post that I lost, but it depends on the video. Because sometimes to me, I just don't like how the videos turn out. It's like when you're podcasting, sometimes you'll have like a great topic, but it's just not like good content that you like. And I'm a big proponent, like post what you like. Like a lot of people now, and I think Gary Vee's the big one who's like, post what you like and like stop worrying about the likes, where other people are, it's like, well, they won't like it if I post a loss. I'm like, maybe they will. Cause I'll be like, I've learned, like you were saying, I've lost 100 pounds. I gained some back from the pandemic pudge. And then also it's like, I was working so hard at trying to maintain both lives that I was like, okay, if I let a little bit go, I put on 20, 25 pounds. I'm one of those people that I can't weigh on the scale. I just have one of those weird issues from being so big and all that kind of stuff that it's like, all right, I'm more comfortable now. Like I can deal with that, but it's kind of like, you know, going in all those directions.
Your LinkedIn video, you're very trim. You're very thin in that picture.
I am very thin. Face is where I first gained the weight. I always know that, but yeah, it's I fluctuated a lot before. You know, it was like every breakup is when I'd lose weight. Like I was 315 and then I'd lose like 20 pounds and then I'd be like dating a new girl and then we'd break up and I'd lose like another 20 pounds to get back at her. Like everyone's like, oh, you must have like this great reason of like why you wanted to lose weight. And I'm like, no, it was basically like I went to my doctor and like got terrible blood results. I made a joke to him about like, hey, can I get samples of Viagra? So when I'm like terribly drunk, like I know I can, you know, I'm good to go, right? And he like is like, bro, you're going to be dead by 40. Like you're 22 years old. Your cholesterol is almost borderline treatable. My fasting glucose was like 99. My blood pressure was like 160 over 110 or something. Like I was like fast track to nowhere. Not the good Motley Crue style, just like, you know, the just, you know, I drank almost every day of the week, non-alcoholic, but it was like, oh, you know, you remember the college days, like, oh, it's ladies' night, then it's triple cripple. And I mean, growing up in Vegas, I can only imagine what you guys had.
Hey, just being, you were also in a fraternity. That's what we talked about this a little bit when we were eating, and that's a very debaucherous life.
Yeah, it is. And if you're the funny fat guy, which I was, you know, I always had the one-liners and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you just kind of carve your niche, but then they're like, oh, you're going to die. And I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe we're getting a little more serious now.
Why do you think you put on so much weight? Were you a big kid throughout your entire life, or was it just like a culmination of just like your environment that was around you and like you weren't educated on health? Like why did you get to 315 pounds?
Well, I played like a lot of sports. So I was like a football player in high school and all that, which they always preach, you know, the bigger the better as an offensive lineman. In Wisconsin, it's not like a fit culture for the most part. So like you see a lot of bigger people and it's going to sound weird, but you're like, oh, I'm not as big as that dude. So I'm not that bad. Like you can rationalize anything you want to. Like my mom always cooked from home. We didn't eat out a lot because everyone's like, oh, you probably ate out a lot as a kid. No, my mom always made home cooked meals. The problem was I was like sneaking food, late night snacks. Like they'd go to bed and I'd go like crush a box of cereal. Like when I told my friends, hey, like this eating thing, I think I might have something here. They were like, dude, we've seen the writing on the wall for 15 years now that you just crush food. That's what you do. Like, you know, and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like an environment, always the biggest kid. Like my grandparents were 6'6" and 6'1" and all that. My brother's 6'3", my mom's 5'. So like height is in the family. And we're just kind of like always been like, I was always the bigger kid, but it's always because I just ate a ton. And it wasn't sweets because everyone's like, oh, you eat a lot of ice cream? No, it's like my mom would make tacos, my dad make 3, my mom make 3, I'd make like 13. Like I just followed up. Like there was hardly any leftovers in the Hendrickson household because I was just cleaning them up with like this sick rational of like, well, I got to get bigger for football. Like it's not bad. I'm going to go work this out. And then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not.
And so then it wasn't until after college that you decided to go on this fitness journey?
Pretty much. It was like the last little bit of college. Like I had a friend that was like, dude, we should like, you know, go to the gym more and stuff. And he was always into fitness and stuff like that. So it was like him like coaching me to get better. And it started with like, instead of like a case of beer, it was like, well, let's do half a case of beer. And then instead of like a pizza every time we drink, like, let's try not to eat the drunken late night feeds. Cause I mean, I firmly believe that if I could go on stage with a semi buzz, that I could do a lot better eating. Cause you get me in that comfortable zone, like there's no off.
Are you not allowed to go on stage, Buzz?
I don't think they highly look upon it. I don't know, you know, and I'm not saying I'm a sloppy drunk, but I can't imagine, you know, cause there's kids there and, you know, when you sign, cause you have to sign a contract and all that, like it's a big deal. Like, you know, you got rights you're giving up, things like that, all this kind of different stuff that it's like, you got kids and family and for whatever reason, they just think it's the greatest thing. Like we went to, Elkhorn, Iowa. It's like a town of 400 people in the middle of Iowa. And it's like you're at their fire station eating Danish pancakes. They're like the biggest Danish city in the United States. Like the mayor is this awesome dude. He rides Harleys. He's like, I'm the Uber driver in town. The only one. I just tell people I'm going out for Mexican food. And if they want to ride, then they better be going out for Mexican food. But I mean, you're like, these people, like, you're like a hero to them. And I'm like, dude, I'm just some former fat kid from Vegas. Like, I'm not even like a Joey Chestnut or anyone good, but they just love it. So you kind of also don't want to be like, you know, we've all seen the athletes and stuff that are doing dumb stuff. And you're like, man, there's kids that look up to you. You know what I mean? So I don't know how they'd really like me showing up just gone.
Just
like,
buzzed.
just
yeah.
knocking over tables like a bull in a china shop, you know.
Interesting. And so this friend of yours helped you the entire length of 100+ pounds?
No, you know, I'm a firm believer that people come into your life for like reasons and seasons. And he was younger than me, which is always kind of funny, but he was one of those kids that kind of had a harder upbringing and stuff like that. Grew up in a tougher city in Wisconsin than I did because I grew up in like small little town, nothing that bad happened, you know, kind of like one of those where he was like more from a city that was more diverse, had a little, you know, different experiences than even I did. And, you know, he helped me for like the first 20, 30 pounds and then, you know, kind of just went about my way, found what I thought was better for me. I mean, you know, you're into fitness. You find
you learn your routine. You kind of like, you pick and choose from different people. You watch videos online and you test it out in the gym and then you kind of have your routine and you run with it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I learn every day now. Like I suck at lifting like my back. So it's like, okay, I've completely taken the weight off and I'm almost doing just the bar to be like, what feels best? What am I doing that's wrong? You know, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure as you're eating too, you should probably have to focus on posture so you're not just like hunched over. I'm sure that probably helps with digestion as well. That's
one thing that's crazy is I started doing like a little bit of yoga because my posture is so bad and I blame it. Like it's easy to blame everything on when I was fat. That's always I was fat, like, you know, but like my posture is garbage. So that's like one thing I'm really cognizant because of that reason. Like I'm like, oh, if I could like sit up more and like give my stomach room because like most of the eaters like 5'8", 5'9", they're close to the table. We have a guy who's 6'9", like he's halfway bent over to get to the table, and it's like your stomach's just hunched over, and you kind of need it to like fill the bag. So
yeah, you need to get a standing table like this.
Yeah, I mean most of them are probably up to like my mid thighs, so it's kind of crazy.
There's like actual like extension tables. Have you ever seen that where you could like it's like a small like 5x5 table, and you can like extend it upwards like a few feet so it's like closer to your mouth. Maybe that would help in like actual competitive eating.
I don't know if they allow that. Like it's crazy, like the different thing. Like it's a business. Like, you know, when we helped because they had the DraftKings Candy Bowl on the Hex bar out there in the Paris or whatever. It was like, I helped set up. There had to be 100. It had to be perfect. If it cracked, you pulled it and had to put a full Kit Kat in there, unwrapping Reese's with gloves on. It was like the nightmare. Like that should be like a prison cruel and unusual punishment, is unwrapping Reese's with gloves, then like not letting them break. Like,
why do you think Nathan's hot dog is like this Super Bowl? Hot dog is such like, I know it's been around for the longest time, but it's like, I think people are losing faith in hot dogs because they're just like not good for you. They're just like,
right? There's no worse food for you.
Like, yeah. Why does everyone favor this as like the Mecca?
That's a good question. I don't know. Cause it's like, it's everyone's favorite contest. It's kind of like the circumstance that goes around it. Like everyone kind of likes it. I think it's just cause it's like one of the longest running contests. It's kind of gotten grandfathered in, but that's like one of the top ones. The other top one that everyone kind of loves is the gyoza eating one, because they do such a great job as like a sponsor. Like all the sponsors are awesome. They always take care of us, always help us out. But gyoza, they throw like an after party and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know why hot dogs are, but you're not wrong. Like it's to kind of combine the health and fitness thing. I had a buddy who was like keto back in the day, right? And so we go to a gas station. I'm trying to like eat my healthy ways, and he's like, "Oh, I'm on a diet." And I watch him get like 4 hot dogs, right, and like a Diet Coke. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm being healthy." I'm like, "No, man." And this is the same thing I told Carnison, because they're like, "Oh, you're healthy." I'm like, I don't like to use that healthy word with me. It's like I'm into a fitness lifestyle. There's no part like you're saying. I eat 28 hot dogs in 10 minutes. No healthcare physician or any definition that's healthy. And that's why I was telling him, like, dude, you got 4 hot dogs. This isn't healthy. It may be helping you hit your goal. Not healthy. Hot dogs are probably like the worst food.
It's the worst. It's whenever I watch the Nathan's hot dog eating contest and they show the calorie tracker where Joey Chestnut eats like 2,000 grams of fat, and he's eating in the high 60s or even 70 hot dogs.
75 last year. 75 in 10 minutes.
And what's your peak?
28.
So that just shows, and you're ranked 23rd. So that just shows the disparity between you and the top. Like how.
Well, Joey's in a league of his own.
Yeah.
Because second and third are like right around 50-ish in there. And then he's just leaps and bounds by.
How do you get to that kind of status? What kind of training do you have to go through to either expand your body, focus on your health, mentality? Like what is your training?
My training is, so like right now I'm getting ready to go to California. Very minimal calories. I'll drink a lot of water because that's helping to fill my stomach. But I'm talking like I'm maybe 1,300 calories for the next week and a half to start getting my body used to it. Then a couple days before we leave, giant salads, like 6-7 pounds of salad, 6-7 pounds of like cucumbers, strawberries, eating a whole watermelon, and then you drink like a Gatorade behind it. So that way it's like filling in all the cracks. But that's really how you train. And everyone's kind of like got different training things. You don't want to share it. It's not like, it's like baseball. Like if I tell this guy my trick, maybe he's gonna be better than me. So everyone kind of like plays the mind games of like, oh, what are you doing? What do you try? So my training is a lot more cardio, because the leaner you are, the better you can usually eat. Like most everyone expects us to be like these huge overweight people. And it's like, don't get me wrong. I could get my fat on with the best of them at 315, but like your stomach starts to hit the fat and it almost like restricts you in this weird way. Like I said, the bro science of competitive. Mm-hmm. And it's like the skinnier you are, the more your stomach can just expand almost like you're pregnant, because you have nothing really holding it in. It's just skin. There's no fat. So it's kind of weird. That's why most of the eaters are either like bodybuilders, super skinny, smaller people that can just like get it, or there are people like me who have like, most of us have lost a lot of weight because we still have all this size from just eating a general consumption of food. We've lost weight now. So it's like we can handle it better.
Yeah. When we ate with Raina, she crushed it in like 6 minutes. I know you did a food competition right before, which kind of blew my mind. You walked in, you're like, yeah, I just did a food competition like 3 hours ago. But she crushed it, and she's tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's those are usually like the 3 people you'll find. Like I get more nervous. Everyone's like, oh, look at that big dude. I'm like, if I see someone super skinny like you're like the prime. I'm like, oh God, that guy's going to crush it. Like, that's who I always bet my money on. I'm like, it's going to be that guy. Why? Because he's just smaller dude, can handle it better. Usually that kind of stuff. Because it also comes
pull
into.
Pull it closer a little bit too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of like.
Just pull it closer, yeah.
Also, like when you do it, you got to have like a cardio. So I did my first qualifier on Las Vegas Strip, front of the New York. I've never felt fatter in my life. I ate like 21 hot dogs. The last 2 minutes, I didn't even eat because I was just like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like someone just like pulled a plug on me, right? But I was like out of breath and I'm like sweating worse than usual. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And like my friend was like, dude, you got to get in better cardio shape. Like this is like legitimately like a sprint. You got to control your breathing. So like I do like long distance running, like a couple days a week, even though I hate it. But that's what I do. Cause like it's like you need the cardio. Yeah. And then you got to see the true, which I thought was funny, is like afterwards, everyone's like, oh, you want this, you want that. They think we're all full. It's like, no, we'll take some ice cream. We'll take, like the quesadilla taco, which was really good. And I was like, the look on your face though, when he like starts bringing us tacos.
God damn it.
Dude, it's like, we just ate a 4-pound fucking burrito. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I don't want this quesadilla. And then you eat it and I can see you're like, this is so delicious, but I don't even want it.
Yeah. Oh, it was a struggle, but it was so good. It's just like, it's kind of like with my sweet tooth, I have no control. That's why I don't buy sweets. It's like, it's either 7 donuts or no donuts at all. And it's kind of like how I felt when I started eating the burrito. It's just like, I'm already here. I'm already indulging or digesting 4,000 calories. Like what's another 1,000 calories? Like it can't hurt.
That's the dangerous mindset that I've fallen into. Like I already had this for the day. I might as well just blow the whole thing. But that's actually how I got into intermittent fasting, was because like I failed every single diet. I like beer. I'm sponsored by Michelob Ultra. Beer, no, Michelob Ultra is water. We all know that. I mean, but like, I like to do that, right? So it's like, I like sourdough breads. You can't have that when you're on keto and carnivore and Atkins and all that. And so like, I was bound to fail, like, because there's something I'm going to cheat with and it's going to blow me up. And I can have moderate days. I tried the 6 meals a day. I was just like the Incredible Hulk, like always mad because I was never like full. I was like, boom, I'll do lean cuisine, all that Special K diet, like where you eat two cups of Special K for lunch and breakfast and then eat like a salad for like, I was like, when you get to that point, at least for me, like I was reaching out to find anything that could give me hope to try to lose weight. And realistically, it was like just being more active and eating less. But that got me into fasting because it was like I got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to eat donuts unless I'm eating a dozen. So I'm just not going to eat donuts. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to eat when I can eat and do that. So it's like all my meals, it's like tonight, I'm going to have a steak and eggs. Like I can have like this giant steak and eggs. That's it for the day. Rest of the time, just black coffee and water. Like, cool. All about my day.
You're literally same diet as me. I'm black coffee in the morning, intermittent fasting. I generally do like between 14 to 20 hours a day. I try to. It just depends on how your body feels. Yeah. That's some of my friends stay very strict 16-8 diet, but I'm like, I just satisfy what my body's telling me. If I'm feeling hazy or lethargic, then it's time to break the fast and eat. But when you're in the gym though, and you're in a fasted state, there's like, it sucks the first 10, 15 minutes, but then you feel like you're just like Super Saiyan afterwards. It's like next level.
I haven't done the fasted workout in so long.
Oh, I always do that.
Really? I might have to try to bring that one back. Cause I'm like a big proponent of like, try different things. Like you were saying before, like you go in the fitness community, you see like, don't do bench press. It's going to kill your shoulders. And then the next guy says, do bench press because you're going to get giant. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much conflicting information. But it's like, I just try everything and be like, let's see if this works. Let's see how this does. So I haven't done fasting, like training in a long while. I need to try that one out. Cause mine's usually like fast all day. And then I'll drink like a gallon of water because that's like part of my training is like, I just drink a gallon of water as fast as I can. And then I'll go to the gym, but I'll just like sip my pre-workout to like start getting like the digestion going and stuff.
Yeah. I wake up, black coffee, and then I usually go to the gym after like an hour of being up. I try to do that and knock it out like as soon as possible. And then I'll do cardio 2 or 3 times a week, and then just strength training 3 or 4, 5 times, depending on how you're feeling. Yeah. And with your schedule, I know it's tough as well, but hydration's important too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, people are always like, oh, you can't, I don't have the time. It's like, you gotta make time. It's not like I have time. Like I have a new puppy at home. I have a girlfriend. I have all this different like life stuff, like stuff breaks in my house. So I got to deal with all that. My parents are old and crazier than ever. So it's like, you just got to kind of find that, place to go. How do you like morning training?
I love it. Coming from a nightclub background, I was never able to work out in the morning. I would wake up at 1:00 in the afternoon and then you already feel like shit because you have insomnia because you're working graveyard and you woke up 3 or 4 times throughout the night. So you can never get like a legit session in. A lot of my coworkers or people in the nightlife industry or even just graveyard industry just take an insane amount of caffeine and pre-workout. And I just never tried to do that. I try to limit myself to like 2 cups of coffee per day because the caffeine withdrawals suck. They hit me so hard.
So I get, like I was telling you before we came on here, you're like, oh, this challenge and that challenge. Like, oh, people were hitting you up about, oh, what about this challenge? You're like, what about this ramen challenge for me and stuff? And it's like all this kind of stuff. So I get challenged all the time. Like I've done some dumb ones where it's been at like home, like where I'm going to eat 100 Jack in the Box mini tacos and I'm going to try to bear crawl 100 yards. Cause that's just like funny to me. Like that's just me being me. Right. I had one challenge cause I probably am up at like 6 to 8 cups of black coffee a day.
Jesus.
Exactly. Right. And then you add on a pre-workout onto that and all that kind of stuff. And then like maybe a rain and a couple like Coke Zeros and stuff. So I'm like, caffeine through the roof, right? Someone's like, you should do a challenge for like a week where you don't do caffeine because those caffeine withdrawals. That's like one challenge. Like people are like, oh, go eat this spicy food. Oh, okay. Go without caffeine for, that's the one that actually I'm like, I'm going to pass on that. Like I'm afraid of what would happen if I didn't do caffeine for a week.
It's the headaches that come with it for 2 to 3 days straight. It's nauseating. You just really can't do anything. So I used to dope up on caffeine when I was working at the nightclub because you're fighting your circadian rhythm. So you have to have some caffeine, but I would limit my caffeine to like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. And a bunch of my coworkers would be downing Red Bulls at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, even right before we close at 4 in the morning. And all of them are the ones that go out afterwards. And it's like, I want to at least keep some normalcy to it. But now that I wake up in the morning, I feel normal. I get to sleep 8 hours a day. And going and working out in the morning just feels more natural. It feels like you've done what you need to do. Your body feels healthy and you're more like aware and awake of what's going on around you.
I think it's easier to get there too. Cause some days like, you have a terrible day or whatever, everything's going wrong. Like it's real easy to be like, oh, well, I'm just not going to go to the gym today, where it's like, if it's done and out of the way, you're good. Like you can handle the day's curveballs.
How often do you hit the gym?
7 days a week usually.
Really? You don't give your body any rest?
No, not usually. Cause when I go out on like a week trip, I'll bring bands with me, but we're normally not in gym. So that's why I use like, okay, I'm just going to like rehab this week and do stuff like that. Like I take recovery very serious, like ice baths and then like one of those massage guns. I use that a lot, foam rollers, lots of stretching and stuff like that. So, I mean, I just abuse it.
So you're also intermittent fasting your gym routine because of these trips. So it's like you're like in a little bit like spurts.
Yeah, but I don't get to go out that much because I have like competitive eating isn't my full-time job. Like very few, there's not tons of money. And so very few people get to do it. That's why I've like tried to go into like, more of the fitness, not because of the money aspect, but like to help people. But it's like, it's like, it's not going to ever pay my bills. It's not going to do anything like that. So it's just more of the enjoyment. Like you like to go golfing. We're never going to go on the PGA tour, but we like to go get our, it's kind of like that. So I don't get to go that much because it's like, I have to get a week off from work. Well, I also have like a girl at home and a puppy. So it's like, I got to do a vacation with them. I don't have to, but I want to. So it's kind of like playing 7 different lives. So maybe in a year I go on 2 trips. A lot of it's just long weekends, but that's usually what I'm off. And even when I went to Arizona last time, we found a gym to go hit and like just mess around and find stuff. So very rarely am I not doing something that day because it goes back to like, I need to do something.
So, yeah. So outside of the upper echelon competitive eaters like Joey Chestnut, where they're actually getting directly paid to do the things that they do and some subtle sponsorships, is content creation the primary income generator for a lot of these competitive eaters?
Yeah, if they get to that level. I mean, some of them aren't that big because, I mean, like, it's like anything. You have your niche. A lot more people like basketball and they like competitive eating. A lot more people like, self-help books and business motivation than they do watching me shove 28 hot dogs in my mouth. I mean, that's just the realism of what it goes through, but most everyone's got another job. A lot of them, like I said, are professional personal trainers, which I always find interesting because it's like, as a client, like what's the first clapback going to be? Well, like, and they're ripped. I mean, 6-packs, huge muscles, all that, but it's like, well, you're not healthy. You know what I mean? As a trainer. So a lot of them are trainers. A lot of them, it's a real kind of interesting combination what everyone kind of does. Some are therapists, some are, business people. It's all over the world.
Do you think the competitive eating space will ever grow to a point where it's looked at as more than just a hobby or maybe entertainment, more as classified as a sport?
No, because I mean, we even joke about that. Like, what is a sport? And a lot of people say, oh, anything with a ball in it. And it's like, well, I think, some of the card playing things that go on, you have cornhole nowadays that's featured on ESPN.
They consider e-gaming sports.
Yeah.
Drone racing is considered a sport.
I was shocked because the Luxor had that, what was it? The LAX nightclub or the LUX nightclub, you know what I'm talking about?
And then they converted it.
They converted it to an esports when I'm like, that's a real move because that's a lot of money because now you're tearing down something, ditching materials. I mean,
and tech's expensive.
Oh yeah. And the fact they have all these tournaments, all this kind, I mean, that was like, esports is real. And then you start hearing about how much like people are making, all this stuff. It's like, wow, like that's, but I mean, a lot of people don't consider esports a sport. You know, it's wild. Like, so I don't ever see it getting that big. I know in Japan it's a lot bigger because I've had friends that have gone over there and done like big TV shows, but it's like everyone liked Man versus Food 'cause it's kind of like an average guy, but it's like they'd rather see you because you're going to struggle more, where it's like Joey just goes, you know, a lot of us just go like, you know, I'm hanging out eating with you, just casually eating it, where you're like, I got to get this last quarter down. Like I got to get this last, and I'm just like, bro, you got it, you know, like just chilling out. So it's just that different kind of, you know, thing.
Yeah, it's more of a spectacle or entertainment. I think to get some things like this to grow, you have to leverage certain qualities around it or different opportunities. Like right now it's mainly just on YouTube and branded, but then they have the one show that's on ESPN. But if you get things like, I don't know, trading cards that surround the sport, or even betting, is there betting on competitive eating competitions?
Yeah, one thing they did, like which I loved, was like during quarantine, they like partnered with one betting website to run like an eating challenge, where it was like, you know, only the top 10 got to go, which I totally understand. Like, you know, no one really goes out to watch the last place teams play each other, right? I think it's more entertaining because it's like I'd rather watch amateur golf sometimes and watch someone teeing off 4 fairways over than always being consistently good. But they just did 2 big events with DraftKings, which was huge. And they were on like the back of a boat for the Super Bowl. And then they did like a Halloween candy, you know, bowl challenge where it was like eating 6 pounds of different candies in 10 minutes.
Yeah, betting is one of the primary driving factors for all these sports. I mean, look at baseball and football and basketball. A lot of it was just people, like they were just nascent sports at that time. No one really paid attention. But once you start surrounding it with money and competition outside of the basketball court, that's what drives a community around it. So,
oh yeah, and look at the Circa and all the new sports books. I mean, it's not going away. Everything's betting mobile now and all that. Like betting's huge.
Yeah, and even if you have a competitive eater who's probably going to win the majority of the time, that's how sports books, they play the odds, right? It's like Joey Chestnut's I don't know, 4-1 favorite or whatever it is, and then everyone else is like 100-1, and that's the fascination behind it. It's like, oh, what if he does lose? What if he has a bad day?
He did. That candy one, he came in dead last. Like the first time in his career, he came in dead last. So it's just like crazy on all that stuff. But I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, look at this. I don't know how well you follow the NFL. I know you're a Broncos fan. It's like this whole Russell Wilson trade thing. Like as the Bears, like as a Packer fan, I'm laughing because they're like, oh, we're going to get Russell Wilson. And they put together like a huge offer. And like, it was rumored that the sports books like took it as a prop bet off and then moved the Bears up in Super Bowl odds. And I'm like, okay, they clearly know something because that's their job. And then they get Andy Dalton, and I'm like, wow, that's a slap to the face. Like, yeah, nothing against Andy Dalton, but I'd rather have Russell Wilson.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I would like to see competitive eating grow because I find it very amusing. Like I watched a bunch of your videos, and I went and watched Reina's. Then there was like some other ones that were related, and a lot of these people have massive communities around them. So if you have a massive community around you and you put in a competition, then people will bet, or sports cards. Like maybe you guys need to make some NFT cards or something like that.
Something like that, right?
Something to gain some hype, some moments.
You gotta, all for the mint, right? But no, I mean, like I'm with you, but the problem is like a lot of it, like no one cares that much. Like in terms of eaters, you have the few that hustle, like Reina. She does a great job. You have like Randy Santel, Beard Means Food. I mean, Beard and Randy each have over 1 million subscribers. Matt Stoney, I mean, one of the biggest YouTubers, Vegas local now, just moved here. I mean, he's almost at 15 million. So there's a huge community for it. But I just don't know if it translates because it's not like we're going to go watch the Milwaukee Bucks play the Denver Nuggets. It's just not, I don't know what that, I mean, it's just not as appealing to people.
That makes sense.
I mean, we're not going to see Giannis square off against Joker. You know what I mean? Like 2 big name things. I mean, Nike isn't beating down my door and stuff like that. Like Michelob, it's more about the fitness journey. Like when I signed up with them and talked to them, they're like, it's more about the fitness. Like Carnison, they don't care about the eating. Like they like think it's crazy and they know about it, but they're more like, we think your fitness story is more inspirational. That like you're being told you're going to die in a couple of years and you turn your life around, then you become this competitive eater and then you do all this kind of crazy stuff. And it's like, but yet you still always go to the gym, like, you know, because everyone expects you just to be, like I said, just a huge dude.
Did Michelob Ultra approach you about a sponsorship? How did that come into fruition?
About once a year, they start looking for athletes and they'll put it out there as like a contest and things like that. And they kind of review it. So they like reached out to me and there's like, I like had applied and said, I think I'm a good athlete because I do this, I do that. And like kind of what my banners are that I stand for, which I think you can tell in the few brief times of meeting me is like, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to be authentic and I'm not going to like hide what I do. And I love to support the little guys. Like, a lot of my friends are like, oh, I got weirdos in my DM. I'm like, I'll answer it because like someone might need help. Like we've been able to help like people that like even want to gain weight because I get a lot of that too. Like, how do I gain weight? And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. I look at a Twinkie and I can already feel like a couple pounds coming on. Like that next day I weighed after our burrito, right? And I'd already done 2 challenges and we went home and I think I had like pasta that night or something too. And it was like, I was up 9 pounds in one day.
Jesus.
I don't like to step on the scale, but Blaine always is like, let's see how much we gain. Like he's always that kind of influence on me. And it was like, yeah, we gained 9 pounds in one day.
Yeah, well, Blaine's a little bit fitter too. So it's probably not as bad for him.
Well, he like doesn't want to do this. Like he wanted to do food challenges, but he hates that feeling that you got to where it's like, you're full. And no one wants to eat past there. So it's like in all my life, like I'm a firm believer now, like everyone's like, oh, it's not easy. Like, oh, you want to go into real estate? It's not easy. You want to trade crypto? It's not easy. What is easy anymore? It's 2021. Like I feel like the glory days sailed before you and I even got on the boat. Like everyone's like, oh, the 90s were great. We did all this, man. It's like, dude, nothing's easy anymore. But he just hates that feeling of like being full where I'm like, I'm always uncomfortable in life. If I get too comfortable, I go like make a move. Like I got too comfortable in Denver. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go move to Vegas and be closer to my parents. Like start over. Like who cares? Like let's do it.
So you moved out here because your parents lived out here?
Yeah. They retired here from Wisconsin.
It's so funny that Vegas used to be a retirement destination and now it's just like everyone wants to live out here. It's always how it happens. Same with Miami too.
I'm glad they didn't go to Miami. I'm glad they're in Vegas. I like it here. It's a nice city.
Are there a lot of competitive eaters that live out here in Vegas? Did you move out here before you were into competitive eating?
Yes. Well, I've been doing like food challenges and just like going to the restaurant ones for a while and just kind of having fun and all that. And then it was like I moved out here. I did the hot dog one on the strip. And there's, well, now with Matt Stoney moving here, I think there's like 3 or 4 of us in the area. But we barely talk, like, you know, any of us. It's kind of everyone just does their own thing. It's not like this huge. Like I have friends that are like closer with me that live in Seattle that are like competitive eaters than the ones here and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of like anything, you make your friends randomly through things.
I find internet or hobby communities so interesting because some of them are so collaborative and some of them are just so antagonistic.
Isn't that weird?
It's crazy. I just had a sports bettor on here. He's like one of the top sports bettors in the city, Mozzie. Yeah. He told me that all of the top sports bettors all hate each other. Like that community is very, it's very desolate. Like they don't want to relate to each other. Whereas the podcasting community is complete opposite. Everybody wants to get on each other's podcasts. Everybody wants to help each other. YouTube seems to be kind of in that same direction too, where it's like collaboration, but with food competitive eating, it seems like there could be a happy medium or it could go the other way.
It's a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Like I'm more like, I'm a small YouTuber. Like that's like not even, I just do it more for like my artistic outreach. Like I'm never going to be, you know what I mean? Like one of those, like I just have fun with it. And it's like some of the collabs I've done, I don't like because like you and I can sit here and shoot the shit and like have it go by fast where it's like other people have been there and I'm like, we don't connect well. Like, you know, it's almost like I can understand when Hollywood's like running screen tests and it's like, well, we have Leonardo DiCaprio and we have, you know, Jessica Biel, 2 great actors and actresses or whatever. They don't connect well on screen. Like they look like they don't like each other. Like this isn't going to make, oh, we get Kate Winslet. Now we have Titanic. Now we got something. Cause there's some collabs I've been to. I'm just like,
it's just nothing in common.
There's nothing there. It's not being funny. Like there's nothing like that. That's why like I always enjoy hanging out with Blaine and my other buddy Mitch. Cause like we just all kind of get each other's sense of humor. Like if the 4 of us went all out and filmed the video, like it would be like, funny. People will be like, oh my God, these guys are awesome. But then you do like a collab in the other one and then they go on your channel and like people are like, oh, let's see what Jake's about. Let's see what this guest list podcast is. Cause it's like, I'm going to support you, put you up there. People are like, oh, I don't like this. This isn't what I like. I like this, you know? So it's hit or miss, but I would say overall, it's not the most like the elites don't really want to collaborate and you get it. They've built their clubhouse, their thing. And then like, if someone goes and beats them, like what does that do for their image? You know what I mean? All that kind of weird stuff where it's like, you got to start factoring in this stuff. And that's why I always make the joke, like, make food challenges fun again. Like, we're eating a 4-pound burrito. Like, this is just funny innately. Like, it's not serious. Like, it's a giant food. Like,
yeah. Once you start taking yourself too seriously, no matter what you're in, all of the fun is just drained out of it.
100%.
It's unfortunate. It's like
100%.
I always try to make fun of myself no matter what it's doing. Like even in podcasting, I don't edit anything because I know no one's perfect. And it's just like, if you mess up in your vocabulary choice or a long pause, like I think it's just funny because it's like I messed up.
Silence. Yeah. It's something like that. No, I'm right there with you. That's why I'm always like real and authentic, because so many people try to edit it and get these perfect moments. And I'm like, dude, life isn't perfect. Like I get it. A lot of people like to watch that, but I'm more like you. Like I like to see the raw stuff where it's like, oh man, they messed up. Like that's funny. Like, you know, that's a funny blooper. Like, I don't know if you saw when Blaine and I did that challenge, he failed. And I'm like, I hate ketchup for whatever reason. I've just never been a big ketchup fan. They lost me when they went to the green and the purple ketchup. Like I was like, nope, I'm done. And he loves it. So we just always go back and forth like that. But it's the same thing. Like it's just funny moments, but some people are like, oh, that's not good TV. It's like, how do you know? Just put it out there.
Are there any equivalents of an awkward silence to podcasting as there is to something in competitive eating?
Usually reversals.
What is that?
Like when someone loses it, like it comes back up. Or like there's like awkward silence because like, you know, if someone's struggling. So everyone's got like, you know, like every player, like, you know, you have your guys that in basketball that shoot 3-pointers and you have your guys that slam dunk it. You know, you have different players. So everyone has their strengths and weaknesses in competitive eating. Some people can eat 20 pounds of food. Like it's just crazy. Like nothing. I'm not that guy. I'm more of a speed guy, right? Like I can take guys that can eat 16 pounds of food because I can get it in and go fast and then kind of just like stall, right? And run the ball a few times, let the clock run out. And oh my God, I did it. But like my biggest thing is flavor fatigue. Like you were saying, you eat too many salty foods. So like my body doesn't want to swallow anymore. And I'm not full. Like it's the weirdest feeling, but like my body's not full. I feel fine, but I'll start gagging. And so like gagging really starts amping up because everyone's like, oh God, he's going to puke. If he pukes, I'm puking.
It's like, contagious.
It does, right? So like people start to look like, oh, if someone's gagging, or if like you see someone like holding it in, like that's kind of the audible. You're like, just waiting. All right, here it comes. Like, but no, I mean, you got some of that. You got people that'll say like really weird things and stuff like that. Like I went to a hot dog qualifier at Coors Field. It was a hot dog qualifier. I'm eating next to one of the Rockies. Dope thing, right? And I always try to make friends with people when you know me. It's just like we're in sales, we're talking, like you're in the nightclub life, like you don't make friends by not talking. I'm like, hey man, how are you doing? Good, man. I'm like, how many are you expecting to eat today? Oh, 45. I'm like, yeah, that'd be like third in the world out of nowhere. Like, yeah, I mean, I hope you do, but I'm like that's kind of my awkward silence is like, do you not like have any like sort of like realization and stuff? Like you just, I'm going to eat 45 hot dogs. When like the average person eats like maybe 18, like most people get on stage, it's like, I bet you could finish 15, but you would be terrible. Like you'd be like, this never again.
Yeah, I hate my life.
It's rough. It's rough.
That's my fear was, I didn't have a fear of throwing up. My fear was just like the fullness would just be so overbearing where my stomach's just extended so far that it just like, it's painful at a point.
Welcome to being a fat kid, man. I'm always, you know, it happens. Like I'll look pregnant after some of them. Some people are really proud of their pregnancy bellies. Like it's kind of the funniness. Like that's why I always like try to make food challenges. Looks like, dude, you get up. Clearly you just ate 4 pounds. Like your body is holding on to something, right? Like my joke is like I sweat. When I was fat, I barely sweat. I could go through football practice. I'd have helmet sweat, but like the rest of it, not much, right? Now it's like, bro, I'm going to go to the gym. Like I can just start to feel the spider sweat sense just start to like go, like the cold beer can just going, right? So like I make jokes on my YouTube. I'm like, meat sweat time, here it comes. Like I bring a towel because like for whatever reason, it's just like,
that's so funny.
Like clockwork.
Is there a way to combat meat sweats or flavor fatigue?
I'm still working on the flavor fatigue because I think that's like the key for me to get to the next level. I mean, you can bring the different colored drinks. You can like try to take it more like pill. I mean, there's 100 different things you can try, but it's like, again, going back to fitness, and this is kind of the craziest of my life is like this double life. It's like everything trying to find like what works best for your body because everyone's kind of different. Like you even hold foods different parts of your stomach. Like some foods sink really low and some sit really high and it's a different feeling. It's wild.
Yeah, I would if I was a competitive eater, I would put hot sauce on everything.
On everything?
I already do that to begin with.
But then it starts to build because now you're not just eating like 3 burritos. Now you're eating that hot sauce where it's like how bad is that going to be once you get 6 pounds of that down in your stomach?
That's true.
That's always the thing. It's like, it starts off fun, like all challenge. It's like I told you, it's like I treat it like almost like a bad relationship. Like, it starts off fun. You love each other. This is the greatest thing ever. Then you get midway through and you're kind of tired of it. And like you said, you're like, I just want it to be over with. I've come this far. That's a joke one of our announcers always says. He's like, 5 minutes in, it's too late to go back. Like, yeah, it's too late. But then it's like at the end, it's like a divorce. Like, you just want to like pay your bill and get out of there and like just be done with it.
Yeah, there's a ton of, I've been noticing there's a ton of food challenges in Vegas. Does it ever feel too gimmicky though
100%.
at a point?
100%. And I've had owners say it's like too gimmicky, and it's like, I get it. It's like a freak show kind of thing. Like, I always make jokes about it's like a carnival. Like, there's a reason why we're at fairs, festivals, and things like that, because usually it's that kind of a spectacle. But yeah, it's kind of gimmicky, but I mean, gimmicks work a lot of the times. You know, I hate to say it, but it's like, oh, you know, gimmicks are gimmicks for a reason. People like can't, it's like beautiful disaster. Like, everyone's like, oh, this is gross, yet they can't stop watching. Like, you go to a restaurant, like if we were to go to like Barcode, like we were talking about, and they bring out the BFB and it's a burger stacked 3 feet high, everyone in the whole restaurant, it's kind of like when the fajitas come out, right? Like, everyone's like, oh man, and then they see you and they're like, this guy's gonna do it? Oh, no way, he's not gonna, like, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, when we were eating at Zarape, there was a few different families that were taking videos of us doing it. Yeah, and they walked in.
And it's wild. But then they go tell their friends, and that's where it's like, yeah, it might be gimmicky, but like the foodie photos look all great. I do it too. We try to help the restaurant because that's what it's ultimately about. Like, let's get Vegas back. Like, let's support El Zarape over some like massive marketing machine and mogul, because they're just like a family. I mean, the dad is sitting right with us. He taps out. The son comes and eats. The daughter's home. I mean, that's cool. That's legitimately like a family business. And it's like, we go out and show these giant burritos. They're going to go tell their friends, oh my God, they have a giant burrito. Everyone knows someone that thinks they're a big eater. Like, let's be realistic. Like, as soon as I told you, I'm like, Jay, you want to do this? Like, we should do this. It'd be kind of fun. You're like, I ate a burrito. I could do this. Like, everyone has that one person that's like, oh, my friend's a guard. And then you get there, like you said, and you're like, oh man, like, what did I get myself into? Like, I got a quarter here. They're both all finished. Like, oh God, this is like, you know, this got real fast. I mean, the majority of people, that's what they think. They can like, oh, I can do it. And then they can't.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the carbs or the fats or what it is, but the taquitos in that burrito was made it a little tough, but also made the crunch kind of nice.
It's a well done burrito. Like, I love the crunch factor. The last time I had it, they had fries in it, which was really dope. But it's a good burrito. But everyone's body digests differently. Like,
what is your competitive eating strategy? Do you try to take the carbs down first, the proteins? Is there like a composition importance to it?
Everyone kind of has their different strategies. For me, I always start with the beef. If I know I'm going to eat it and like I know I got like slam dunk, like we're going to go get a McDouble or whatever, or go downstairs and do like a donut, like I'll eat it normal. But if it's like a giant burger, normally I'm eating the burger meat first, then going with like burger, bacon, cheese. Then I'll go to the fries and finish with the buns, because the buns are usually easier to get down because once you put water on a piece of bread, like even in your mouth, it starts to just sponge and you can swallow. There's not much chewing. Where if you get, you know, if you did the backwards way, right, and you did like bun, fries, then burger, proteins normally you got to chew a lot more.
Yeah, and you're generally hungry coming in a fasted state, so you'll tear it down pretty fast.
Yeah, but no, you ever want to do a challenge? There's tons of them out here. There's a lot of good ones out here.
I told you I want to do a sweet one. I know you like donuts. I mean, you brought me a wicked donut sandwich thing. Yep. So thank you for that. I'm a big donut eater guy.
CJ's used to have one, and they like postponed it due to coronavirus, which sucked, because that'd be like the perfect challenge for you. We always told people that was like a great beginner challenge. It was 32 ounces of Italian ice, any flavor you want, which is always good, because sometimes they'll put like a flavor that you don't like, and you're like, oh, well, this would be great if I didn't have to eat, you know, blue raspberry or something. Mm-hmm. Then it was a giant peanut butter banana custard, or peanut butter brownie custard thing, and then a banana split. And it was like 5 pounds. You had like an hour, like it was super doable, and it was just delicious. Like, known throughout the country. Like, Vegas is known for like having like really random food challenges, but like some of the tastiest ones. So CJ's, if we can ever get that back, that'd be one that you would crush.
Yeah, actually just had a woman on here named Angela Martinez. We were talking about doing a food challenge because she saw the video and she's a podcaster, and she was like, you know, I'm trying to branch out also into on my YouTube and not be just podcasts. She's like, I'd like to do something like that. So it's like those things you don't realize, where since you reached out to me and I went on to it, now other people saw it and they're like, hey, you know, maybe I need to do something like that too.
And who's the real winner? El Zarape. Because everyone sees that and it's like more eyes on their stuff, which is what I like, because that's like when you're like, oh, what about YouTube? What about this? What about that? That's like, to me, when I go out, like who I like to support, like the people that get it, like they do. Cause some restaurants are like, yeah, we have a challenge. They don't want to advertise it, where it's like, we went to a place in Arizona, they don't really advertise it, but then they're like, oh yeah, these guys got $100 each and ate this pizza. And everyone's like, well, I can eat that pizza. They've had like 7 people go there and do it. Majority of them are going to fail. And it's like $50 if you lose the pizza. It's like, there's $400. Like, yeah, they had to pay us the $200, but, and if you want to, I'm setting up a new challenge. It's a spicy one.
I love spice.
Not a lot of volume though. Like, we're going to design it next week. It's fluff and ice.
Oh, is this the one where you do it at your own house?
No. This is going to be at a restaurant here. It's like a Hawaiian shaved ice place with like a spicy tuna poke challenge. You might actually know the guy. He's like a DJ in town. I think his name's like, I can get you the name, but I mean, he owns a Hawaiian spot. And we talked the other day because he wants to have like a spicy poke tuna one that'd be like 1 pound. So we could get what was her name? Angelica, you said? Or
Angela, yeah.
Get all 4 of us out here, and Blaine's coming back into town for my birthday in April. I mean, you could run her through her first food challenge. Spicy ones are the interesting ones.
Because spice tolerance is different in varying degrees. Like I said, I'm the person where I get hot wings and then I put hot sauce on top of the hot wings.
If you want hot, we have one of the hottest challenges we have 2 of the hottest challenges like in the Western Coast in Vegas.
I haven't done the ghost pepper thing. I haven't had a ghost pepper though yet. I've had the ghost pepper sauces, which are cool, but I've never actually had like a legit ghost pepper.
So I don't touch spicy. That's not my bread and butter. That I'm not a chili head. I will do like the spicy poke one, whatever. But there's like Wing King up on Flamingo.
Yeah.
Apparently they have like some deathly wings, right? And then there's Mint Indian Bistro that has like this 1 pound curry dish that's made with like 5 of the hottest peppers. Like, I don't know, Blaine, I told you the story, but he did it. And I'm like, I'm not going, man. Like, I got to work, right? Like, I got to work. I'm going to miss this one, right? So he eats it. Him and Raina eat it. They go and go get tea, like milk tea afterwards. And they're like laying on the ground because they're in so much pain, right? So I get home, Blaine's like, oh man, my hand hurts. He starts icing his fingers, right? And it's like almost like you and I like tore, like sprained our shoulders. I'm like icing on, off, ice on, off, right? It's like 9 hours later and he's like, dude, can you drive me to Walgreens? I think I legitimately need burn cream. And so he did like 3 ointments of burn cream because like this stuff was so hot, it like burned his hand. It was wild.
That's insane.
And it wasn't just like 1 application of burn coating. It was good. It was like 3. Like he kept rubbing it on, then he'd wait, and then all of a sudden he'd be like, oh God, like, yeah. And he was wearing gloves. When he pulled the glove off, it hit his finger. But it was like a full on, like we're at the Walgreens at 9 o'clock at night. Like that's why you're like, oh, it's the adventures of Heavy D. Like I feel like Angela doesn't want to be like just a podcaster. Like no one wants to be just that. Like it's great to have your niche, but like you have more interest than just, like you have crypto, you have your nightlife background, you have all these different things. And to me, it's like a lot of them are like, I eat. And I'm like, I do more than eating. Like I try to be funny. Like I rode a bike. I tried to ride a bike for 100 miles while drinking 100 ounces of beer. Like that's an adventure. Like adventure is just this kind of like ambiguous term of like, oh, we're here. Like, there's different times where like you end up in situations. Like I always laugh. Like we were in LA and it's like, here we are getting ramen at 4 a.m. with, 4 of the best eaters in the world, just chilling out. And it's like, we did just the random stuff that we all kind of get into.
Yeah, because you also have your fitness journey that's attached to it as well.
No one cares. For the YouTube, they don't care. Like Instagram, it's weird how the different platforms break down. I can tell like when I post, like who my eating fans are and who my fitness fans are. I post on that like, hey man, you can do it. It's not easy. Like you're going to fluctuate, like, be the best you, channel the different advice, whatever. And it's like, boom, I get like these likes. And then like, I'll post something like, hey, this is the biggest burger in Vegas. Could you do it? And it's like a whole different set of people. And it's like, I have 2 split groups of followers because like I told you, like Harness and Michelob's more about like running and being fit, and that this is the beer that you can drink with that's low carb, that's like going to help you hit your goals. They're not like on me because it's like, oh, he, tried to drink 100 ounces of beer and eat 4 Chipotle burritos and run a mile in the same time.
That's so funny when you told me that.
It was one of the worst decisions I made. If I would have gone to 12-ounce beers, I still maintain I had that challenge. But it was a fun day, like because that's
what makes it fun though, right. Is to create your own challenges like that. It doesn't have to be just a challenge that's crafted by somebody else. Like you get to go out and do your own things. That's what makes content creation beautiful. That's what's important to branding, is to show like you're staying authentic to your beliefs and having fun.
Yeah, but so many people get lost in that, in all different spectrums. You know what I mean? Because they like just chase the likes, the money, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, dude, we could have a blast. Like we're down here in the arts district. We could have you on the microphone out there announcing and me running.
See, that would be like, so much fun. Right? That would be so much fun. It is to the point too where you're talking about different communities on different platforms. I'm the similar way, because most of the time I keep my Instagram to like the podcasting and inspiration kind of like brand. And on Twitter, I'm mostly talking about cryptocurrency for the most part. And I can tell like some of my Twitter followers, they hate it. They hate it because when I post about crypto, it gets not many likes. And then anything else is like 10, 20 likes. But it's like, I'm passionate about crypto, so I'm going to continue posting about it because that's authentic to me. And it's like, I'm not going to change who I am because just to be a slave to the algorithm. Right. That's just like, that's how you lose your integrity.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people have lost that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is going to do better. And they know all the different times. And that's why I've been like lately, like, just send it. You know what I mean? Who cares? But it's like, I think it was Gary Vee the other day was posting like, well, you were a bikini model for X number of years. So that's what your fan base was about. But now if you want to do like vegan cooking, you're starting at square zero. So you can't expect them to follow on that journey. But in a year, you're going to have the vegan, cooking demographic and not this. I think some people just get so lost. It's crazy what social media does. Like some days I hate it because it's like I get random things I just don't like. And it's like, it kind of bogs down. But at the same time, it's like, I've made some of my best friends. Like, this is the craziest thing to me about the internet. Like, I tell people, like, I have some like close friends that'll probably stand up at my wedding that like I've met through the internet that like we've gotten to meet in person now and we hang out and go to each other's houses and stuff like that. But it's like they were a complete stranger. Where people that I grew up with for years, went to college with, did all that. It's like, we don't even talk anymore. Like they have a kid and I'm like, hey man, congratulations. Or like, my dad was in the hospital and they're like, hey man, I heard your dad's in the hospital. I hope everything's okay. It's not even like a phone call anymore. It's just like a simple text where it's like random people are like, come and visit me 5 times. I go to Wisconsin, no one flies out to visit me. So I go Vegas. That's a scary city out there,
It's a beautiful part of the internet is it's easier to find like-minded individuals like you because you're branding your channels as who you are or who you want to be. And that's kind of where the like, that's kind of where like the good and bad comes from social media is like some people brand themselves as people they want to be rather than who they are. So you get like the wrong crowd. But if you're staying authentic to who you are, then it's going to attract the same type of authentic people and it makes it easier. And that's why you could be closer with people. So that's why it's like, it's good that like me and you, like we continue on with our journeys and we stay relevant to who we are and we try not to lose it. But it does come at the point, to your point where you're talking about Gary Vee and like switching up. That was one of my fears is before I started the podcast, I'd been this entrepreneur and I'd done all these things, but my thought was like, okay, now that I'm a pivot to podcasting, all of my previous followers, it's like, are they going to like that? Are they going to stay with me? What are they going to think of me? But after I started it, I was like, the people who did unfollow me, it's like, who cares? Yeah. Like you don't want them there anyways. And some of these people end up following me again afterwards. They were resistant to change, but the change has to start with you and then everyone else kind of tags along with it.
Isn't that wild though? Like they unfollow you and then like, oh, okay, well now I miss them and I'll come back. And it's just like everything about the internet era is just kind of wild, like what people do and all that. And it's just, it's nuts. It's not going away though. It's only going to get bigger.
Only getting bigger. Yeah, that's why I'm a big crypto person because decentralization is very important, and decentralization and open source is even more community driven than anything else.
Really?
It's so much more. Yeah, we'll talk about it after this recording, but that's one of my big reasonings behind. Obviously, you can make money off of it, and like you have self-sovereignty to own your own money and your own data and different things like that, but it just comes down to communities, man. And that's what drives crypto is all these different communities who rally behind these different projects and have the narrative behind it, which is important because stories are what sells, not even just on the internet, but just like, your fitness journey or my entrepreneurial journey. Like those are what people back because they see the grind that you've gone through. I just had a gentleman on here right before you. His name's Silo Moses. He was literally homeless for almost a year, eating out of dumpsters in Vegas. And now he has a multi-million-dollar real estate company, and he's called a social entrepreneur, and he has social impact movements with Serving Hope LV and all these different things that he gets into. He has like a social impact cause attached to it. And so like, that's why people get along his journeys, because he was literally homeless, and like that just further pushes his message as to what he's trying to do later.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So stories are important, just like with comedians.
Yeah.
The best comedians are all the good ones who are good storytellers.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, that's what I enjoy, and like that's who I follow. Like I follow people. It's like, yeah, I support my friends and stuff like that. But like my true, like who I like to follow is like the Dave Chappelles and the storytellers and all the funny stuff. Cause it's like, I know we're getting closer, but like one of my favorite stories where you were asking me before, you're like, so you eat 28 and you're 23rd for hot dogs. Joe eats 75 and all that. So like before the pandemic, it was the Iowa State Fair. And I don't know if you've ever been in the Midwest. It's humid. It gets hot. These state fairs are like the be all and end all, right? Like tons of people. It's in Des Moines. It's Slipknot's first time playing in Des Moines for like years, right? And then it's also the Democratic National Caucus or whatever that's out there. I know I'm butchering that, but like all the Democratic, Bernie's out there, Elizabeth Warren, Biden, all of them are out there, right? And so I'm at Vegas on a Friday, and within 48 hours, I fly from Vegas to Phoenix to Minneapolis because it was too expensive to fly to Des Moines. I rent a car, wake up at 6, I couch surf on my girlfriend's college roommate's friend's house, drive the 3 hours to Des Moines. One of my friends who we always text, real good dude like you and I, but internet friends, that kind of stuff. He's flying in from Memphis. He beats me. But we're flying in the same time. Never met each other. We're texting, just like smack talking, but also being funny. Like, oh my God, this is crazy because he's flying. So we drive there. The line to see Slipknot is like 3 miles long already at like 8 in the morning, right? And so I'm making the joke. I'm like, wow, people are really excited to see us eat some hot dogs today. Like, this is crazy, right? And so it's hot. Like, we both can't stop sweating because it's just humidity and all that. And so we go up there, we do our thing. And we're laying there just miserable because like you see the food, but what you also don't see is like when you're drinking liquid, like that's got to go somewhere too. So when you're dunking the buns, like, yeah, you may only ate 4 or 5 pounds of hot dogs in 10 minutes, but you've also ingested, like, I think on that day I had like a gallon of water that I had gone through from dunking. I mean, of course, some spills and all this. So I got my shirt on, right? And I was just doing a day trip. So I'm like catching a flight that night. He's catching a flight. We're laying on the grass and I'm like, dude, you ate 32. I'm so proud of you. Like, genuinely, like, dude, that's awesome. You crushed it. It was your personal best. Like, I crushed it. My personal best. And I'm like, you ate 32. I ate 28. All right, that's 60. I said, we're still 15 behind Joe. Like, the two of us together are still, right? I mean, that's the insanity of what he does. Because my buddy's like number 19, number 18. Like, he's higher than that. But that's how crazy it is. So then we get on a plane, right? And I still can't stop sweating. So we were walking around, meeting, the Haribo gummy bear who's out there. I mean, it's the Iowa State Fair. It's dope. Like, it is the place to be. And so I get on the plane. I'm covered in Kool-Aid stain. Like, it almost looks like I murdered the Kool-Aid man. Like, there's just red everywhere. I can't stop sweating. Like, I'm sure I smelled like hot dogs, right? Like, the greatest day. Thank God no one had to sit next to me, right? Because they're just like, what happened to this guy, right? And I'm just like, rough Saturday. And I still got like 28 hot dogs in me just flying. So then we go, and then we go to Chicago as my connecting flight. So it was like, I did like 3 different time zones, like 5 different states or something, like for you. Why? Like you said, the community, the love of it. Like, it's kind of like you were saying with your entrepreneurial journey. Like you started to not like the nightlife. Like, we all get to that point where we don't like things. And it's like, we'd never have to work. Like, if I had to do YouTube all day and had to go help people, because charity is big for me. Like, I try to raise money for dementia and veterans. My dad's a veteran. My mom has some dementia problems. Like, that's where like my soul sits. And that's what I try to use my platform is for, like, to help the person like that I used to be of like, dude, I'm never going to not be fat. Like, I don't know how to not get fat. Like, that was the thing. Cause you do all these diets and they work, but then they don't, you know what I mean? Like, you got to kind of find what works for you. Cause I couldn't live eating 2 bowls of Special K a day plus a salad. Like, that's just not good. So, I mean, that's what's like passionate, but it's the community. Like, why else would I just leave Vegas on a perfectly good Friday when it's like party central on pre-COVID times, fly to Iowa, which everyone's like, I'm sure the TSA agent's like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, he's leaving Vegas to go to Minneapolis on a Friday. Like, and he's got a Nevada ID. Like, he's from Vegas going like, we're the party city, right? Like, we're the fun city. Like, what's going on? But it's like that community, like you said, like you don't work. It's not work. It's more fun. I'm like, ooh, I get to go see my friends this weekend. Like, that kind of stuff.
It's exactly how I feel. I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
It's about Vegas. What does Vegas mean to you?
Home. It's like you go to Wisconsin and like everyone's the same. Here, it's like it's a crazy city. It's big, but it's not too big. Like it's like a very like I know Reno takes the title of like biggest little city. I feel like we're number 2 in that category. Like we're the solid 2 seed that's coming out of that region because like everyone knows something here. Like we had never met and you're like, oh, I worked here. I'm like, oh, do you know this guy? Oh yeah, he's my boy. It's like, dude, I met that guy in Colorado and we worked for the same company. Like what a small world that is. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone knows someone here, but it's like if you're a local, like you love it here. Like you're kind of like this bond. And it's like, yeah, I wasn't born here and I'm not Vegas born and raised, but like it's home. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I can't see myself living anywhere else now. Like it's like nice weather. Like it's not -20. Denver this week, I don't know if you saw what they got. It's like 24 inches of snow and it's already melting.
Can't do it.
Yeah, 24 inches of snow. That's why I moved. That's when I knew it was time for Heavy D to set sail into a greener pasture because like my birthday's in April. We're barbecuing. I'm smoking briskets. 2 days later, we get 14 inches of snow. 3 days later, it's completely gone. And it's like, you don't know whether to wear flip-flops or, you know, Carhartt overall bibs. Like, you just don't know where it's at. But no, Vegas is like home. Like the people here are passionate. I mean, the Golden Knights, look at what they've done. You know, like people rally around Vegas, like Vegas stronger. Like I just moved out here after the October 1. It's like people still talk about that. Like it's, you know, like they love their city. You go to Wisconsin, they love their city, but like you go to other cities and you can feel it when you go visit them. Like they're not proud of that city. It's very weird auras, but like you talk to people that are like locals here. And for the vast part, like they have, like we have our problem areas. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. People are like, oh, well, it's great here. I love it. You know what I mean? Very few people will say, I hate it here. Then why are you here? But you go to like some of these cities that I've traveled to, they don't seem proud of their city.
Mm-hmm. The majority of my friends who I grew up with in high school, middle school, who moved away because they claimed they hated Vegas, all moved back.
I'm sure.
Always, everyone tries to leave and then they realize the convenience of the city and the aura and everything that has to offer. And it's just the perfect culmination.
I told my girl when we moved here, you can never tell me you're bored and we have nothing to do. Like, cause in Denver, like a lot of people, like, oh, you're in the mountains, but you kind of are, but you're like 3 hours away from all that kind of stuff. So it's like us driving to LA roughly. So it's like kind of more of a commitment where it's like, here we have Charleston that's close. Well, I live out in the boonies. I'm up by Aliante. So, I mean, that's close for me. But then like, you want to go have like a steak dinner at one of the best steakhouses in the world. Boom, we have that. We go to one of the biggest nightclubs and see one of the biggest DJs in the world. And then we can go fishing in the morning. Like there's not many places that you can live that you could go do all of that in the same day, you know?
Yeah, I'll end on this note. One of my guests said they love the accessibility of Vegas. One day they went snowboarding up at Mount Charleston and then they went to a pool the same day,
right?
Out on the strip. It's like there's nowhere else you could do that.
No. And then you got the hope that everyone I think comes here because we're a very flush city. Like you never know. Like I think it was at Aliante, like some guy went to go watch the Joker movie. Like you and me, we're gonna go have a beer and we're gonna watch the Joker movie and we just throw $20 in a Wheel of Fortune. And the guy made like, I think it was like $9 million or something, like hit the progressive. It's like, yeah, you ain't doing that anywhere else, really.
Beautiful city.
It is.
Where do I send all the listeners and viewers to follow you along your journey?
So I'm at The Adventures of Heavy D, all underscored for the spaces, The Adventures of Heavy D, Vegas local. So I always try to support, let me know if you're Vegas, because I always make sure to follow back and support Vegas. And like coming on here, I appreciate Jake having me. I'm sorry I made your favorite podcaster come out and get a taste of the dirty life and all that.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It was funny when I got there. He was like, I always try to make people make bad decisions. And in my fraternity, we had a little group of us. We called it the Team Bad Decisions. So it was a perfect match.
I was 2,000 miles away, but I was on that same team. You know, that was that's what I try to do. It's like what you do with like podcasting, getting to know people. It's like pushing the comfort zones. Like, and you can see the people that, nope, I'm staying in my comfort zone. Here's my bubble. And where it's like people like you and me and some of the other great guests. Like I'm always impressed at who you have. When I saw like, I think it was like Secret Burger, I'm like, dude, that's a great guest. Like that's awesome. You're killing it, bro. Like
appreciate
props to you putting Vegas on the map too. Cause I don't know many Vegas podcasters. I know a lot of other Vegas, personas, if you would, like the sports gamblers. What is it? Vegas Dave or whatnot.
Vegas Dave. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. We have our, celebrities like Pauly D to live here and all that, but it's like, we don't have big podcasters. We have a big YouTube community and stuff like that. But I mean,
yeah, that was what I saw Vegas was missing. There's just like so many entrepreneurs and creators and people who are doing insane things out here. It's just like there was nowhere that corralled everybody.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
I could corral everybody and then we can all collab together and benefit. You know, it's a beautiful part of Vegas is everybody out here for the most part wants to help each other because they're so passionate about the city.
No, it's true. And that's where it's like you're talking about communities to wrap this all up, like communities and helping people. Like wild to me to hear the sports bettors are all antagonistic because I thought they would almost be with each other. Like, hey, Jake, I have this. What's your thought? You know what I mean? And almost pick each other's brain to go to their next level. But it's like, you know, it's like when I meet people from Vegas, they genuinely like want to help the Vegas locals. They want to help the Vegas kid and stuff like that, you know?
Yep. It's the sports bettors, they're fighting for different resources. They're fighting for other people's monies with subscription, whereas content creators are fighting for attention. And if you put two people who already grab attention together, then it's just going to grab everyone's attention. So it's a little bit of different confliction there, but at the end of the day, money changes people, personalities attract people.
Yeah.
So one down that. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited to eat this donut after I go to the gym and then to do another challenge some in the future. So for those who made it this far, look out for that.
Get with Angela. We'll set it up. We're thinking we're going to meet with them next week. So maybe in like 2 weeks, like right around my birthday, doing like a spicy one right up your alley, healthy tuna poke. So no, we're going to design it. It's a cool place. He's a Vegas local too. You could probably talk to him. He's got like he's a DJ.
Perfect. Yeah, there's a ton of DJs out here. Let's fucking send it. Thank you guys for listening and we'll catch you next time.